breath and energy from up here to here. And that's when I could really recognize that, that like kind of stuckness. And so that's part of my reason here for doing a cleanse, actually.
Oh, I love it.
It's like I want to feel open all the way.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Cleansing the Human Experience. I'm Erin Andrus, and today I have on Tavish Calico. Hello, Tav.
Hey, how's it going?
So good. Thanks for being here. Tav is a very amazing human being. He's overcome incredible experiences that are profound ones to have lived. When I heard his story, I cried so hard, and I feel it is so important the world hears your story and how you've overcome. And also you've done the detox, so we can discuss that. You're on day 2 right now.
I'm on round 2.
Amazing. How are you feeling?
Good. Really good.
Good.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience. I was talking to a friend last night and who's also done it.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about my favorite aspect of it, because it's not easy, right? It's not necessarily easy, and there's a lot of steps to it, and that's maybe the hardest part, is just the regimen of it. But what I really love about it is it makes me feel fully present in my body. You can feel it all. The
awareness.
Yeah, just like in your core and just everything, because there's not this extra layer of stuff in between. You just really getting it out, and I love that.
What are you finding this round versus the first that's different for you? You mean tell me.
It's interesting. I was reading my journal actually this week, which is something that I started in 2019, and it's cool. I don't keep like any kind of cadence to it necessarily. And so I kind of come to it when I need to. And it was cool. Actually, when I did the detox the first time, there was so much happening in my life, like so much chaos.
Okay.
And so
what was happening?
I mean, just things with business, personal life. We were in a little home that I was renovating, and like, I just had listed out the number of things that I'd accomplished in that week.
The diagonal home?
On the diagonal home. Okay. And it was a lot. I kind of forget. Yeah. Right. And so, I remember in that time, like it was cool because it slowed things down in a way and kind of brought me into like this state of feeling more present. And at that home, it's got this beautiful property under the Red Mountains. And I just remember feeling really connected to it. I think that was really cool, and truthfully, in hindsight, doing that cleanse really changed a lot for me and my wife. We did it together.
I love that.
And, it's had like this staying power with kind of how we eat and how we treat ourselves, and just being connected, because I definitely wasn't prior to that.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm getting over a little cold, but
no worries.
But this time around, it was interesting. I actually got sick the night before I started.
Your body was already bringing stuff to the surface.
Yeah, it was wild. Like day 1.
Okay.
I don't know that I've had a worse headache in my life. Yeah, I just felt it all. Okay. And by 4 p.m., I had to tap out for the day and just slept. It was crazy. So just, kind of honoring yourself and listening to it. But
so that was just yesterday?
That was on Monday.
Yeah,
okay. So it's Wednesday today. So that was Monday. Yesterday I woke up and I felt really crappy right out of the gate. Okay. I woke up at 6 a.m. And by 8, I felt so much better. Good. So just in a couple hours. And then by the end of the day, I was back, and we went to a hot yoga class last night.
Good.
It was, I woke up today just feeling like totally alive.
Good. Day 3.
And I'm on day 3, and I feel stronger, and it's,
heart day.
It's wild. Yeah. It's a heart day, which is interesting, right? I was reading about that.
And I'm going to just pull up my notes real quick, because day 3 is heart day, and Leo's the heart.
Leo's the heart.
Yeah, your dad is a Leo, and Trent was a Leo. Yeah, is a Leo. Yes.
Yeah.
So huge day for you. Heart day, to feel the heart connect to the loved ones so deep and dear
So
to you.
deep. Yeah. And that's, I think that's where I'm at right now. My life is less chaotic than it was then. And that's a great thing.
Yeah. Feels good.
You know, but sometimes I don't know, I kind of vacillate between feeling really like rooted in my life and comfortable and confident with it. And then other times just questioning it all, right?
Unstable, feeling the depths of despair.
Totally. It's like, what in the hell is going on?
Okay.
And it's just crazy. But today was really special. Like I just had a quick moment. Went over to that same house that I was renovating. It's finished now.
The diagonal house. And can we just add for everyone who's listening and watching that Tab and Amy, they renovate and they do the coolest job. They pick out the neatest tiles, the most unique furniture. You guys have such an eye to bring an aesthetic. So I just want to add that in.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, we had tons of fun with it. I mean, it was one of those projects that was so painstaking, and it was just happened out of necessity. Based on all of these things, these factors at the time.
So you have this cool historic house.
Yeah, we had to dig deep to get it done, and now it's done. And I went over there today because now we're at the step of just like running water throughout the whole property, like irrigation. You know, getting ready to do landscape, which is I've been waiting for this all along. This is my favorite part.
Well, when Tav's a Pisces, so the nature to you is so fun to be out in the dirt.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so I was over there, and I was talking to this awesome kid, Andy Kidd is his name, who helps me out with some of my yard stuff. He's seriously one of the purest souls I've ever met.
Love that.
And we were just talking about the house, and I was sharing photos of things, the journey of it. I have like 2,000 photos documented. And he asked, how do you know how to do this? How did you know how to do all this? And I'm like, I didn't know how.
Okay.
I had no clue. But, my dad was a builder, but he passed when I was 11.
Okay.
And and so it's not like I had all of this experience on the job.
Yeah.
But I felt, and I said this to him, and I literally welled up. I almost started bawling, which would have been awkward.
What a good moment.
But I was like, my dad, honestly, I feel that he was guiding my hand.
Yeah.
Like helping me to figure stuff out and keeping me safe.
Wow.
I really had some moments alone in that home feeling that.
Connecting to your dad.
Totally. So it's all coming together today in that way.
Oh, I love that.
And now we're here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here.
Of course.
So, will you tell your story?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I should say too, it's,
thank you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's interesting, right? To be here in this studio talking about this, and having this weird kind of feeling of like, is this the definition of me? This story, right? And I've grappled with that my whole life.
Wow.
Of like, does this thing define me? This experience of my life or whatever? And I have had a hard time with that. Okay. I think accepting that, right?
Yeah.
But I accept it now.
What have you concluded that it?
I mean, I don't know that I have a conclusion.
Okay.
I mean, and that's what's interesting about life for me is, again, some days you feel really good and confident in who you are, what you're doing, why you're here, all these things. And other days it's a total, toss up.
Yes.
I just don't feel it.
Yes.
And so I don't know. I would definitely say something that I think is important for people to understand is like I've finally gone through some really deep therapy work, with you, and with some others, and I've gone deep now for goodness, like almost 4 years.
Yeah, you've done incredible work, you and Amy. And when I heard your story, I was in the space with you and just in awe, Tavish, of what you've overcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Overcoming, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the hard part. And I think that's something to know is even if you go in and do this work, like this deep, hard work, the shadow work or the soul work or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that it's wise to just say that like once you do that, everything is then all good.
Right.
Right? Because I think that maybe I had that idea in my mind when I started. It was like, okay, I'm going to go through and do this stuff, and then everything's going to be perfect on the other side of it. But that's not life.
You get glimpses of that, of the
Yeah.
letting go, and it feels so good for bits. And then the waves come in again. You have to
Right.
process again.
Yeah, I think the pain and the grief and like all of the things will always be there.
Yeah.
But I think like what has changed for me, I wrote it again in my journal, and I can't remember. I could probably pull it up, but like,
You can if you want to read
if
it.
that's cool, maybe
Absolutely. Would love
because
that.
this was really, this was on the very tail end
Okay.
of things for me. I did a chakra clearing series with you,
Yeah.
right? And it was really, it was powerful.
Yes.
You know, from the root all the way up to the crown.
I think we did like 8 sessions total.
Total, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this was at the day after the crown
Okay.
chakra.
Okay.
And it was really cool. So this was a year of doing this and really going in deep, and trying to like process all of this and understand it. But this is what I wrote, and I thought it was pretty powerful. It said, if I were to sum up the personal work I've done in the past year, it's this: I've learned to see my reality better, so to witness it and see it first, to process my reality, to accept my reality, to digest my reality, to live my reality, and to love my reality. And I wrote, I'm still learning that part.
Okay. Wow.
Right? And I think that's like the progress. They're the process of the continuation, if you will. You know, it's like you're continually like coming back and really loving it, no matter what, if it's good or bad. And I think there's so much strength and power in that.
Thank you for sharing that.
I don't know if
That was good.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
But,
I think so too. The work is always there because life is always here. And if we're going to continue to choose into it and continue to create, we have the waves that come back around, the cycles that come back around. And I feel the well that we can pull from in emotion, you know, that is already tapped into there, and the connections with dad and who we can call upon to help us through when we feel the depths of despair. I know for me, when I feel the moments I can't go on anymore, I have to call in all my angels and do the work. And we find the work. We go in and we do our therapies and our yoga and our mantras, and we find the body and we digest the things we have. And
it's all connected.
Good work.
It's wild. So so like you can probably help me go deeper on some of this or whatever, but at a high level, so when I was 11, I lost my dad and my brother in a car wreck. And that's the surface level. That's
the surface level.
Right.
You witnessed it, the car accident, in fact, right?
Yeah. So I think that's where things start to get a little heavier, right? And I didn't maybe realize this until literally 25 years later, which was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I was in a bad place in 2021, and I recognized that through reading my own journal entries.
Yes.
Because I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that actually, and reading it back, I was like, wow, this is not good. I have a few kids, and my wife, and they're my world. And, you know, I had a business that I was running with employees, and it's like all these people that depend on me. And here I am like feeling so frail and ready to be gone kind of a thing. So I'm like, I can't.
Were you processing a lot of suicidal ideation at the time?
For sure. Yeah. Without realizing it, you know, I think it was kind of jarring to like read back my own words to me after the fact, you know, but I had a couple of times where, it was pretty scary, and it was hard to define why or what that fear was.
The feelings inside.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I went to like a traditional therapist for the first time. That's when I kind of heard myself say my own story out loud as an adult.
Wow.
I'd never gone to therapy, right? So this happened when I was 11, this event where I was on vacation with, we were heading on vacation, my family.
Where were you guys driving to?
We were supposed to be going to the redwood forests, like eventually up in Northern California. So we were on our way to Tahoe. Driving out through this middle of Nevada, which if anyone's done that drive, it's not great.
And were you driving behind your family, or were you in front?
So we were driving, our families, 2 families, my best friend's family and mine. We were driving, and, you know, we stopped at this park out in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, which if you've driven that road, it's just straight and flat and pretty desolate. There's like a random park we stopped at and ate lunch. was the last time I saw my dad and my brother.
Okay.
A few moments later, we got in the car, and that's when we switched. And I jumped in with my friend. I'm like, yeah, I want to ride.
So
with
you
my
were
best friend.
driving with your family until that stopped.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was like, I want to hop in with my friend Sky and hang
Okay.
out. And a
Wow.
couple of his sisters got in the vehicle with my family, and we drove down the road, and, you know, going 80 miles an hour on cruise control. My family was pulling a trailer, a little camp trailer.
Okay.
We were just driving, hanging out. And then, I just remember hearing my friend's dad, Marshall, just, start saying like, Dennis, what are you doing? Because he was on cruise control in the center of the road because there was no cars coming either way. And so we were just kind of cruising. And then he just started to veer off to the other side of the road. And he was like, started speaking up, and then they got out into the desert, and then everyone, started screaming. And
what were you feeling in that moment? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Everyone screaming, you're watching your family.
Probably absolutely confused.
Just confusion.
And just terrified.
Yeah,
and, just remember hearing like, my friend's parents screaming, and, they're going out into the desert. No brake lights came on. So assuming that something like a heart attack probably happened. Right. And they went out into the desert, and then there's those big giant irrigation canals.
Okay.
And they just right down to the bottom of one, like into a cement wall, basically. Wow. And then in the water. And I didn't even know this until recently.
Was water filling in the van?
I guess the truck was like floating away.
Oh, wow.
And my friend's dad and brothers got out and were like trying to hold it in place.
Wow.
Super crazy. I didn't even know. I tried to run out there, and my friend's mom grabbed me and held me.
Okay.
And
was that a hard moment for you?
Yeah, I mean,
when she's holding you back?
Probably the hardest moment of my life.
Okay.
Honestly, it was just like, what is happening? So crazy. And then we had like this really beautiful miracle where randomly like a fleet of Hummers with Army guys that were in basic training came driving by. They all stopped, got out, and they just started pulling people out, ripping the doors off and getting people out,
And you were witnessing them pulling your family out?
Yeah, I mean, pulling them up onto the bridge, on the overpass. And, I remember seeing like, my little brother and people coming up, but my dad was trapped in the vehicle, until later, and they had to do the jaws of life and all of that.
Okay.
So yeah, that was really heavy. This all happened about, 15 minutes outside of Fallon, Nevada. If you're familiar with Fallon, it's a little town.
And your little brother was 2, right?
Yeah. So Trent was 2. He was a month away from turning 3.
Okay.
My dad was a month away from turning 38.
Wow. So young.
I'm 39 right now. So pretty crazy times. But so yeah, then we went into Fallon, where they went to the hospital.
Did you drive in the ambulance with anybody or?
No, I don't remember that, actually. Okay. I'm not sure. I think we probably just drove in their vehicle.
Okay.
So went to the hospital, and, because of the Army brigade that had come through.
Yeah.
The person charged, sergeant or general, I don't know the rankings, how that works. But he was the one who came in to the waiting room and told me that my dad was gone, that my mom was to be life flighted to Reno with my little brother, and that they most likely wouldn't be making it. My sister was in the OR waiting room. She had broken her arm really bad. And so she was in the OR waiting room, and he just told me straight up, he's like, put on a smile and go and talk to your sister, and don't like put this on her, kind of a thing, is sort of how he was conveyed, she's in a state where she doesn't
he
need
just
to like
told you about your family. He didn't hug you.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Wow.
But it was really just like, close that up and go in and put a smile on. And so I didn't realize how impactful that was, honestly. Just like a stuffing down.
Emotional processing able to happen. What about the neighbors? Were they there with you? Do you remember?
For sure. I remember being with my friend. Was that an
awkward thing to be with your friend, or was that a comforting thing to be with your friend?
I think I just the feeling I recall is just being really just vacant with any emotion, like just totally hollowed out. And, like everything was just spinning at that point. So I can kind of remember the waiting room, and my friend was there. Yeah. I think his parents were probably busy dealing with hospital staff and doing all of the things, right?
Yeah.
But I don't actually know all of the perspectives from everyone else and the details of it. So it's hard. Like from my perspective, it's there's like little like glimpses of like images and things that I experienced, but definitely don't have like a full recollection of the whole event.
Gotcha.
I do remember going in and talking to my sister, Tara.
Okay. And was she in a coma or was she awake?
She was awake. She was on morphine at that point, and so she was silly. And there was a guy in there who'd been bit by a rattlesnake who was hilarious.
Okay.
And I remember laughing, and I was just pulling glass out of her skin. And, and we were talking, and
wow.
I don't remember what we spoke about, but definitely not about all of that. And, I like walked out of that room, and I remember them like wheeling. There was like a stretcher being wheeled with like a body bag. And for some reason, in my mind, it was my dad. I don't actually know if it was.
I do remember in my notes, it does say that you witnessed your dad in a body bag.
Yeah. And I don't know if that is true or if it was or wasn't, but that's what it was internalized as. Right. So anyways, it was heavy, and we stayed with a local family there for the first couple nights in Fallon. My mom and my brother were life flighted to Reno. Okay. And that was a wild time, those first couple nights. I couldn't eat.
Did they take you to Reno to be with your mom and brother?
After a couple days, my dad's mom, my grandma and grandpa, and my two uncles drove up in their little tiny vehicle to Reno.
So you were in Fallon until then, and so you couldn't eat. You were just...
Yeah, it was so gnarly.
Could you sleep?
No, I didn't sleep for years.
That's when you said insomnia started to happen.
For sure. I was tortured at that point. It was miserable. But yeah, I mean, I remember we went to the bead store. We like to make, the hemp bracelets and necklaces with the beads. I don't know if you ever did that. Yeah. So we went to the bead store, got some beads. I wanted to make something for my mom. Okay. And the newspaper was on the counter, the checkout counter, with the story of my family. And it was like, just miserable. And anyways, my grandma and grandpa picked me up. We drove up to up to Reno. And I just remember on the way, in between my uncles in the back seat, it was just hyperventilating and breathing into a brown paper bag. And, it was heavy. Because in those few days, in the first 3 days, my mom was not supposed to make it. She was like showing signs of brain damage and all this. Okay. My brother had trauma, but maybe was going to be okay. It was kind of the initial take. And then in those first few days, they kind of flip-flopped. Wow. And my mom started showing signs that she could improve and get better. My brother really fell off. Oh, wow. So we were going to Reno to take him off of life support. And so I think that was just all so overwhelming and heavy, right? Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. And your mom, was she in a coma at the time? Yeah. My mom was in a coma for, I don't know how long, probably at least a couple weeks, if not more. Okay. I'm not totally sure. And you were there taking your brother off life support? Yeah. So we got up to Reno. Was Tara there? Tara was in Fallon, and then some people from our neighborhood drove up and picked her and my friend's sisters who were in the accident up and drove them back home. Okay. I went up to Reno. And so I was there with my grandma and grandpa and uncles. We stayed in a Ronald McDonald home. Okay. Which was gnarly. Honestly, bet. One of the worst memories I have. Wow. Just really depressing environment. I feel like there was no one there. McDonald homes? Like, was it a hotel? It's like a hotel. Okay. Yeah, it's like a hotel, but it was weird. It felt like there's no one there. Interesting. I don't know. I just have one strange memory. I couldn't sleep. It was the middle of the night, and I wandered down into some really dimly lit hallway, and I was standing in front of a vending machine. Oh wow. Because I was like, I should order something, like get something, and my grandma had given me a couple bucks, and nothing even seemed appetizing. So and that's like really one of the only memories I have of that hotel.
Okay.
And then we went to the hospital. And I remember standing outside the room, Trent's room, my brother's room, and my grandma had given me like a Snickers bar to eat, and I took a bite and just instantly puked it up. It was just tough. It was tough. And, yeah, and I remember going in to the room where my brother was, and he had a red cast on his leg.
Okay.
He was swollen and blue.
Okay.
And just the life support was breathing for him. And
did you get to hold him?
No, I didn't. They didn't want me to pick him up. So, yeah. So we took him into my mom's room where she looked like a corpse.
Okay.
Truthfully,
wow.
she'd broken her skull and her teeth and her elbows and knees and ankles. And
do you remember what you were thinking in that moment as a child looking at his
I don't
mom?
remember my thoughts at that point. I think it was all just so much, just so overwhelming, and like to see your mom in that state was just so heavy. And I don't know. I don't know how, I don't think I knew how to feel about it all.
Yeah.
It was just totally numb. I mean, this was 3 days in and it was just so much. Right. And so we had to put Trent into my mom's arms and took him off life support. And it's so sad that she doesn't even recall that.
Wow.
I know that's hard.
Have you talked to her a lot about that?
Yeah, we've talked for sure.
And so she's able to process that?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I don't know if she's been able to process it. I think it's hard because she just has this huge blind spot of time.
When you talk about numbness even, and was numb to it because she was sleeping in coma, and then even when we did our work, I remember your hands, they've been numb for so long.
I've got a totally numb left hand.
Yeah. Because you dove into art. Yeah.
So getting through all of that, I mean, that was rough when my mom came to, and, we held the funeral, and everything.
Did you wait? So you waited till your mom came to until you did the funeral?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So she was there. She was there on a stretcher in her hospital bed in the chapel. Yeah. And it was pretty crazy.
Was Tara at that point, a lot better, or was she able to be at the funeral?
She was there too. Yeah. She was, we were staying at the friends who we were with during this whole accident. We were actually living with them during all this, because at the time when my mom, the diagnosis was that she might not make it. Yeah. They were like considering adoption and things like that for my sister and I, because we were both minors. I have an older brother, but he was in Africa. Okay. At the time on a mission for the LDS church. So
was that so hard for him to be away when all this was happening? Were you able to talk to him at all?
Well, he came home.
Okay.
So he came home for like 2 weeks maybe.
Just for the funeral? For
the funeral, and to kind of handle the affairs of things, because he was the only non-minor. Wow. Right? So he kind of made certain, I don't know, probably had to make certain decisions or whatever. But so yeah, after all of that, I mean, I think anyone who's lost someone will know that those first few weeks when all of the chaos is happening and you have to figure out the affairs of the deceased, and you have to shake the hands and kiss the babies and get all the funeral flowers and all that. It's not fun, and it's tough, and there's a lot. And I'm sure as an adult, it's way more gnarly. Right. But I think the real challenge starts after that. It's like when everybody has put it down and moved on with their life, and you're left there to hold it all. Wow. It's like, holy now shit, what? This is so dark and so hard and heavy. And I think that's really where the journey begins. Yeah. For most people. For sure. And I don't know how to help. And even now, having gone through that, it's like, I'm here for you. And that's all that I can be, really. Yeah. So. And that's all anyone needs. Yeah, I think so. But wow. So, so it was a lot, So, and then you dove deep into art. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I couldn't sleep. I became essentially my mom's caretaker.
Okay.
And that was as much for her as it was for me.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, as a young kid, it's like, you know, we had a 2-story home. My bedroom was upstairs. Hers was down. And I just ended up starting to sleep with her every night
Wow.
to be with her. She had like a tracheotomy hole.
Wow.
And I had to like, you know, me and my sis and my grandma helped and stuff, but we would, you know, just take care of her. We'd clean that and help her walk around, like help her start doing rehab and get into a walker. And it took time. And
How long was that process?
I couldn't even tell you, probably a couple months.
Okay.
At least.
Good work.
So.
But bonding with your mom at such a deep level, in a deep way, and helping her. Wow.
Yeah, it
You
was
guys
it was
very
so
close
special.
today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
absolutely. You know, I mean, she's an incredible woman. All that she's been through.
Yeah. How is she
really
doing
was
today?
I mean, she deals with her own life things,
Yeah.
but she's amazing, dude. Like
love
my mom,
the
who
resilience.
broke her whole body,
Right.
she's one of the most active people you'll ever meet.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, she goes on a 20-mile bike ride every day, I think, 20 or something like that. And she hikes up Webb Hill twice a day, a lot of the days.
Oh, I love
Like
it.
she's just super active. She started running, you know, years after when she was totally recovered, she started running.
Good.
She ran so much that she ended up compressing a vertebrae in her neck.
Okay.
So
She's just really
she
active.
just go for it. Yeah,
Good.
she's
Okay.
incredible. Like all that she's been through, and she's been through a lot, you know. So
And your sister, did she have a full recovery, Tara?
yeah, I believe. I don't
Yeah.
know that if she has anything
I
left
would
over.
say, yeah.
Do you know? I mean, you're friends with her, so
Yeah, no.
I think she's fine.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
She is
Tara's one of the brightest,
incredible. One of my favorite
Yeah.
humans on earth.
me
She's an
too.
angel.
and she got me through. Truthfully, like
Yeah.
I mean, we were always close. She was always my sweet older sister that loved me. And I felt that from her. But man, after that whole thing, you know, I can't speak for her, but she definitely went on her own journey
Yeah.
and her own pain,
Yeah.
you know, and that looked a lot like going her own way. And there became a little bit of a divide between her and my mom. And I was kind of this intermediary person in between, like trying to mediate arguments and like keep people close. And like, you know, it was just, you go through so much turmoil.
Yeah.
It really felt like this atomic bomb landed and exploded
whole
us
family.
all over, you know.
Wow.
And I mean, not obviously, but gratefully, we love each other and we're
Yeah.
close. But
Yeah.
you know, we definitely still. It's like I don't know if it's that event or if it'll always be this way, but we definitely, you know, are on our own paths.
Yeah.
you know, all of us. And
Yeah.
it's
You're all
good.
incredible humans, all of you. I worked with you and Tara and your mom the other day. She just came into the plaza
Oh yeah.
to get some stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wait, how do I know you? Oh, Julie. And I gave her a hug.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, your wife's incredible and your kids are incredible.
I'm super lucky.
You have 3 beautiful children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Amy. And you're an artist. You own,
Yeah.
you had a branding agency before.
Right.
And it was very successful and awesome.
Yeah.
And good work. And what are you up to now with that?
Still building brands. That's
Okay,
what I do. Yeah. So just trying to, you know, bring meaning and purpose to companies. And I think that our world needs more of that,
Love that.
you know, but yeah. And to kind of talk about the art side of it and where that all came from was really stemmed out of this experience. You know, I couldn't sleep afterward. And I'd always loved kind of drawing and expressing myself that way, but it just became this like, you know, it was amplified in a massive way where I couldn't sleep at night. And so I would stay up all night.
How was that having insomnia?
It's hard. It's miserable.
Do you sleep now?
I do now
Good.
with the help of some plant medicine for
Yeah.
sure. So,
Okay, good.
yeah, always working on that, you know, even like this cleanse
Yes.
is a part of that
Yes.
for me. You
Tell
know,
me
and
about that.
just learning and starting to recognize that really everything is connected, right?
Yeah.
From you know, what we put in our bodies, how we use our bodies, the way we think and feel, and all of that is all connected. And for me, you know, like I didn't realize that I wasn't able to sleep well until just a few years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this is this is what it's like.
And
I feel like the lights are on.
Thank you, Jesus. I can sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but all through my, teenage years, I was just up at night, just
Drawing.
making stuff, creating art and, music. I got into playing the piano, and I mean, man, it was just this amazing way to kind of release emotion, I guess. I didn't think of it that way, but
yeah.
I have like a really vivid memory of playing the piano one time, just in the dark, just playing. And I like to just kind of improvise and make it up as I'm going, so I was just kind of playing, and it's just really heartfelt. And I really felt that so much as a kid, like just so much heart and soul in it. It was just like coming out. And I remember I was just playing in the dark, and I'd probably been playing for 40 minutes, just nonstop. And I looked over, and my mom was standing there, and she's just in tears, because she could just feel it.
I love that.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That's deep.
It was cool.
I really love that.
Yeah.
And you play by ear? You can just play?
I play by ear. I did some lessons, and ultimately really fell into kind of just piano theory rather than like classical training.
Cool.
So kind of understanding chord structures and how like keys work and all that, which is great for me. So then I can just play.
Do you teach your kids?
I am a little bit.
Oh, fun.
They love to sit and listen, and then they like to get on there and play. So
fun.
Trying to help them out.
Does Amy play?
She doesn't play the piano.
Listens.
She does like
you
string
serenade
instruments.
her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, good. Let's see. What else?
Yeah, no, I was saying like the art thing, I mean, I would hang out with my sis. Like, well, I wouldn't hang out with her. She would be gone out, hanging out with friends all night. She'd sneak out and be gone. I'd be up drawing and painting and listening to music, playing music, all this stuff. And then she would come sneaking back in, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'd be awake, and we'd just sit and connect and talk. And we got so close.
Bonded.
Through that. It was beautiful.
I love that.
And yeah, I think like we just, we have this infinite friendship now between her and I because of that, and just going deep and
that feels
connecting.
good to have an infinite friendship
that's
deep like that. You just get each other.
Absolutely. Well, and she loves art too, so we would sit and draw
and did
play together.
She worked for you at one point, right?
Yeah, she worked there when I left. So
awesome. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's still there, actually.
So you guys are so close.
Oh yeah. All the time.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
Okay, good. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on and telling your story, Tav.
Of course.
And you're on day 3 heart. Have you done your enema yet today?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a good releasing?
Actually, it was really good today.
Good.
Yeah, I felt like I got deep.
Okay, good. You're
in my intestines.
I love that. And day 3 is such a good day to connect to your dad, as we talked about him and his journey. And I just want to speak to that, to Dennis and your baby brother, and how incredible they were and are now as your angels by your side and your family, and helping us all create awareness and how we can heal.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Happy to.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to get a hold of Tav or follow or connect to Tav, how can they find you?
Ooh, I've got a weird name, right? It's easy to find Tav Calico on all of the platforms and my website and all of that stuff. So
I love that. Yeah. So speaking about journal entries, you journal bi-weekly.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just have this calendar event, right? That's just kind of a kick in the ass. It says you'll regret it later in life if you don't write in your journal right now.
I love that.
And I kind of hold it loosely. I've tried to do journals in the past.
Yeah. And
like a daily journal doesn't work for me. And if I try to put too much rigor to it, like I have to do this thing because I'm gonna journal, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know, that little like phrasing of like regret really
pops up
promotes
every other week.
like me to do this. And it's so cool because like I don't know if anyone else feels this way. The older I get, the more I feel like happens in a day.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, I don't know if I've ever had more than 2 weeks of just like smooth sailing. It's like you get this 2 week wave
to write about.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like internal, and I've started to recognize that, and I think that's really the what I feel like the the skill, I guess, I've been able to acquire through going into all of this really deeply is awareness. It's this, and I think that that's the first step to everything.
Yeah.
It's like you can't do anything about the things you're not aware of, right? You can't even feel about them.
So good.
Right? You can't feel about it if you don't know it exists, right? And so I think it's the first thing is like shining a light. And I remember when we were doing our chakra series, you know, and going through all of that, I remember talking about like these, feeling like there's these different caves or like tunnels in my body, and I'm shining a light down it. And just by illuminating it, I can then start to kind of clear that channel.
I love that.
That's like a visual side of me, is like I always think in these visual ways, like little snapshots.
And when you're doing that too, what parts of the body do you feel like you felt the very most in our work? In
our work, I mean, man, like okay.
Yeah.
Where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think I have a strong kind of like, you know, vision, like this, like third eye type of an idea, right? And so in my head, I can feel things very strong. I feel that there's a block somewhere around here, in my throat and into my heart, right?
Okay.
And I remember when we were working together, I felt such a cleared opening channel throughout everything, you know, from the root to the crown.
Okay.
And as I've I've taken a step back from going deep into all of this all of the time. Yeah. For about a year now. Yeah. And I can feel that the connection's not as clear. Okay. Right? Like it's sometimes, you know.
But you have the awareness that it's here.
Yeah, there's something
thyroid,
in here
thymus area.
Yeah, where it kind of gets stuck, right? Okay. Like if I'm trying to, this all sounds really strange coming from my own mouth. So you know.
It makes sense to me.
I know it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
For just so everybody knows, like I was the guy a few years ago who thought that yoga was dumb. And now I'm like a fanatic and going about yoga.
To be hot.
Constantly.
Lucy's class all the time.
Constantly. I mean, like a daily yoga practice. I do cold plunging and sauna and all of the things that are trendy these days. But damn, they work.
But they work.
It's so powerful. I don't care. I think it's beautiful that people are becoming aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sauna, the cold plunge, meditation, breath work, all of it.
The inner work is what
powerful.
The good work.
And so I just put that out there as a disclaimer for those that are like, that dude's weird. You know, it's like, I get it. I get this. I get that it's strange, and it's only through experiencing it that it can make sense. Yeah. Right? It's that awareness thing.
Right. And now that you have so much body awareness, in fact, because you've cleared out so much of the numbness that you were not aware to.
Right. And like even the cleanse for a normal everyday person, all these people I work with right now, you know, like I've told a few people and they're like, whoa, that's crazy. Like you're giving yourself an enema every day? It's like, yeah, I know. That's bizarre, right? But damn, like there is a actual functional purpose to this that creates resounding effects, not just physically. Right. But emotionally and mentally. And all of that impacts everything, your relationships with others and with yourself. And it's really cool. And I'm grateful to have gone through that and understand that it's not made up, that it's absolutely real and that it actually has a real effect. Yeah. And so when I say things like what I'm talking about is like, I did a breathwork session a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And it was powerful. It's actually the first time I've done it in a while. Because like I said, I've sort of put things down just to, I got to feel the contrast in my life of things, right? And I think that there's a really cool quote that I can't quote exactly, but it says we're only made aware of our position in life by the contraries. Oh, so it's like by seeing other things, we can kind of recognize our place. Yeah. Right. But it's like you kind of have to have the opposition, right? Yeah. The light and the dark, and like the doing and the not doing.
Shadow to see the light.
Yeah, that's good. So anyways, in this breathwork session, you know, I was like trying to move breath and energy from up here to here, and that's when I could really recognize that. Okay. You know, that like kind of stuckness, and so that's part of my reason here for doing a cleanse. Actually.
Oh, I love it.
You know, it's like I want to feel open. Yep. All the way. Yep. Because I think that, you know, I want to be connected to my intuition, but I also want to be connected to my heart and let that, like, I don't know, man. I think there is the journey from the head to the heart is sort of like one of life's great challenges.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
And trying to like operate from that heart
Trusting
space.
the heart and letting
Because
the
it doesn't
head
make
go.
logical sense, right?
Yeah, but we know what the heart wants. We feel it so deep and it magnetizes no matter what.
Yeah.
So letting the head trust with the heart, it is good work. Yeah.
Dude, it's the hardest work.
Good work.
It's the hardest
I'm
work.
going to tell you, bravo. Keep
And then to like
going.
totally operate from that space that has no logic.
Yes. Just
it's
trust.
hard up here.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's I don't know if that answers your question, but I think like what I'm talking about is that connected awareness inside.
Yes.
Is what I feel. It's not an individual part of my body.
Yeah.
I'm way hyper aware of my body and how it feels all the time, for sure.
Good.
And I continue to do a lot of work toward it, you know, to try to help myself have a good life.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Okay, good. So, and tomorrow's day 4 for you on the cleanse.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, you're going to do so good.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in it. It's
Only
so cool.
3 more days to go.
And the cool thing, like we did it once.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful for us. I think it was visibly powerful.
Yeah.
My mom, my sister, my brother have all done it. Now my wife's parents are doing it.
I love it.
My mom's on it again with us.
I love that.
I have like 2 people from work that are buying it and want to do it because it's like
it is a level up.
They can see it.
Clearing the cells, clears the consciousness, clears the reality. The old parasites go. Let new ones come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff. I honestly would never have imagined myself doing this like just a few years ago.
I'm like, hey, the next level to this is parasite cleansing. And you guys were like, okay, let's
go.
do it. And you did it and boom.
And it's been amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for trusting your heart
right.
and allowing the head to figure all of the calculations accordingly. Yeah. And thanks for being on the show, Tavish. Yeah, I'm so honored and glad. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in, listening, and joining us today. And one more time, Tav, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Just look my name up, Tav Calico. Perfect. You'll find me.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Namaste, everyone.